Hello guys and girls, Hydra here, and in today's video we're going to be doing another feedback session for the developers talking about one central theme. Before I tell you what that theme is though, a little bit of credit to one of the forum members, Brother Lazarus, for highlighting this issue and I think giving it as much attention as it deserves. And what is the issue? The issue is the current problem that if I do a difficult mission, it takes me bloody ages to do it, and the amount of experience you get as a reward for doing the mission doesn't really justify the time spent. If we're talking about efficiency in terms of playing Inquisitor Martyr at the moment, doing an easy mission gives you about somewhere between 10 and 12k experience. Going +1 difficulty, which is to say you're fighting against a power level +1 than your own, you're going to get about 12 to 15, and that goes up maxing out with what we have at the moment for a +3, which is about 17k experience per mission. So between easy and difficult, you're looking at between a 50 and 70% increase in terms of the experience you get from doing that mission. Now, what is the problem with that? Well, the problem with that is that it takes me more like 4 or 5 times the length to do one of these damn missions. Now, the issue is I really enjoy doing the harder missions. I really enjoy being power level 1 fighting against a +3 difficulty modifier. I do 80% less damage and I take a bucket ton more, 200% more. But for me, that difficulty is just how I like the game. I think that is a really good level for it to be at. But the problem is I would progress so much quicker if I was playing easy content. And that is, for me, a bit of an issue. Especially for us players that like a challenge, because challenge always needs to be rewarded and not penalised. So obviously I'll just return to the fact for a second here that balance hasn't even been addressed in this since it was initially sort of implemented. The balance for progression is next month, so don't sort of complain about how the game is, just make sure you're letting the developers know how you want the game to be, because again, it hasn't been balanced yet. Nothing in the milestones thus far have really been changing these numbers. This is a job for next month where we get a drastic overhaul, but again, we can let them know what we want. So first up, I think it's fairly safe to say if a mission on average, and I think they're just going to have to do some data collection here and say, okay, a +3 power level mission takes on average 200% the length of time, so what we'll do is we'll give 200% the amount of experience. Now, I do kind of grasp the concept that if you start going with 4 or 5 times sort of experience modifiers, then, well, you will get the occasional group of players that find a build that's so powerful that they can steamroll through this content, and then they just literally steamroll through the game. And that is something, yes, you do kind of have to be a little bit careful for, because progression should be quicker, but what I'm really talking about is progression per minute. And progression per minute needs to be at least remaining a constant, but ideally providing a bit of a reward as you're going up in difficulty. Now, if it does remain a constant, I do have an idea, and some of you, just bear with me here, some of you will be used to the concept that when you play in a typical game and you go to a higher area, you will get better gear, typically because you get the gear for the higher area. Now, within Inquisitor Martyr, we do not have that system, and I do appreciate the devs not including it, because if I'm power level 1 and I fight against power level 4, if I were to get power level 4 gear, I'm basically going through the game 400% the speed of a normal sort of easy mode player, which for me is far too big of a difference. Skipping literally the first, second and third planet to go straight to the fourth, I take my hat off to the developers saying, no, we don't want people to be able to do that. Play through the content quicker if you're better at it, but not at that rate. But I do think there is a happy middle ground here where we can still reward players for doing harder missions, but without giving them gear outside of the current power level system. Now, for me, the solution is fairly simple. If we've got a weapon that is 90 to 100 damage, and let's say that is our weapon for our power level 1, and we've got a bolt gun, it's 90 to 100 damage, that is the roll table for that item when it drops for us. If we do an easy mission, let's say it's 90 to 100. If we do a slightly harder, why don't we say it's 92 to 100? Slightly harder again, 94, 96, 98. Why don't we actually make not the gear better, but the probability in getting better gear slightly higher from doing better missions? Because that way at least you're doing harder content and you're thinking, okay, I may not be getting the best experience rate in the world here, but I am going to get a higher probability at getting better gear. Because the issue is it is RNG based, so you might get a drop on a weapon and it might turn out to be a bit pants. But doing harder content will actually mean that there is that little bit of extra incentive, which I think players are used to within ARPGs. When you do harder stuff, you don't just expect more experience, you do expect better drops as well. And in that sense, of course, I don't think it's necessary to say get more purples just because you're doing hard missions. I think that's a little bit overkill because purples equal progression in this game. I think just get better purples, but not the next loot table of purples, would be a perfectly fine compromise, a really nice and simple system, and a way to give players an extra form of reward and a reason to really try and get better at the game, a reason to try and want to strive to achieve these harder missions. So guys, let me know what you think of this concept down below. Would you like better items from harder missions? Would you like harder missions to correlate? I think that goes without saying. If you're doing a harder content, you want more experience for it. Time invested needs to really sort of be proportionate to the reward you get. But guys, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Have a great weekend, guys, and remember Gamescom coming up this week. I've got a big surprise for you coming up. Between me and the developers, we're going to cook up something great for you for a little celebration of Gamescom, but that'll be coming to you later in the week. Guys, have a super one. See you next time.